Hello, my name is V Sin, and this is a snapshot of Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition. Now, this is a port of a game that came out for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It's the DC fighting game. Recently, fairly recently, like, I don't know, only a month ago maybe, they announced that they were going to make this port, and they did it. They did make a few promises. They said that they would do it 60 frames per second, lag-free, and all that good stuff. For the most part, we're going to have to see whether or not they lived up to those expectations. So I'm going to go into these settings first. As is befitting every fighting game, controls are rebindable. Flip stance, for the record, I don't think this actually does anything, it's just graphical. Not sure what release check is, though. And then presets, throws, and default super move, that's about it. Audio-visual settings. I'm going to reset these to default for a second. You'll notice that those are the defaults. And you'll notice, of course, that contrast, brightness, the screen changed a bit. Why did I crank the defaults up to what I did? First of all, dialogue. Something's a little bit weird about the dialogue, because the battle dialogue is roughly at the level you'd expect it to be. But in the story mode, the cutscene dialogue is way too low. I mean really low. So I cranked this all the way up. Next, music. You'll notice that there is music in the background. But I can almost never hear the music. I can hear everything else, but not the music. I'd recommend cranking it up to at least this. Cranking it up this far actually makes it slightly distracting in the load screen. So I'd put it about here. Now, contrast and brightness. A lot of people have been saying that the graphics are muddy, shoddy, etc., etc. What I found someone on, I believe, GameFAQs, who noted that if you turn the contrast all the way down and the brightness all the way up, the graphics look slightly better. So, as you can see, turning contrast down, brightness up. Personally, what I've noticed is that, yes, this does actually work. It looks slightly better. Only slightly, but it does help a few of the coloration issues. It helps hide a few of the texture issues. But even then, some characters still look absolutely hideous, like Cyborg. I'll have to show you that later on, but I'm gonna just hit these settings. Gameplay settings, story difficulty, it's just the AI difficulty. Match timer, subtitles, I should have turned that on a long time ago. Zombie mode, I am not sure what this does. I'm sorry, I haven't actually checked yet. I'll have to check the manual sometime later. Maybe I'll put it in the, description below for the zombie mode. Otherwise, yeah. Those save these changes, let's get out of here. Now, multiplayer, I will get into this at the end of the video in more detail, but for the most part, I will say for multiplayer population, because it's been less than a week, I got a decent number of players. I think over the span of about an hour, I managed to get 8 matches from about 4 different people. I will say that I got my butt kicked brutally and went 0-8, because I'm not that good at this game, but whatever. Let's get into the single player. Yeah, play story, battles, star labs, single fight, and training. Now, play story is the story mode. You may have seen videos of it on YouTube. It's basically you go through the Injustice story, a whole bunch of stuff happens, you get a few little mini games, etc. Battles is what other games would call arcade mode. Only in this case, battles will be, like, for example, go up against random opponents, heroes only, enemies only, you start with less health, you have your health constantly draining, etc. Little gimmicks like that, all towards the same fairly standard arcade mode. Off the top of my head, all I can really say is that for classic, Evil Superman is always the last boss. That's about it. Star Labs, I'm gonna go into this one now. Load times aren't actually too bad. Also, when you get into battle, there's actually a load screen in the middle, so that's pretty neat. You can see you have all these various little challenges. So, for example, go to this one at the start, getting started. All of the Star Labs missions start with one that just deals with do combos. But then there are the rest of them. Like, for example, this one is, there was a sun gimmick, you have to stand in the sun, and you gradually gain health. Kryptonite Batarangs. Kryptonite Batarangs is just the Batarangs deal more damage. Heating up, this one is just button inputs. Rain of Fire, what the heck was this exactly? This one is stuff falls from the from the ceiling. Meteor from Krypton is you just have to dodge repeatedly, or just not take damage at all. Save the Human, this is a gimmick minigame. However, I will say something about the gimmick minigames. In... where is it here? Whiteout. Yeah, this one? No. Whiteout, no. Crowd. This one. Okay. This one is... what you have to do is you have to pick your various arrows and then fire the correct arrow at the enemy. However, the way you pick those arrows is the same as the battle input. So, for example, if the game wants you to do frost arrows, you have to do quarter circle backwards special. If the game wants you to do electrical arrows, you have to do quarter circle forward circle special. And if the game wants you to use fire arrows, you have to use down down special in order to pick the arrow, and then you can shoot it. So this is what I like about these missions. When it tells you to use a specific move, it just makes you do the actual input, so you're practicing it, which is quite a bit better than, say, just like a button mashing minigame, which is what? Say Sharpshooter. This is a screen swipe, but it's just simply swipe the direction that the screen wants. I honestly don't think this is particularly interesting. Also, the only reason I don't have perfect score on this one is because when it first started, I was like, what am I doing? And then I missed the first shot. Got 19 out of 20. Didn't bother trying it again. Also, just a random note, I hate aim high just because the hitbox for your arrow, like, your character box is your character box. But the place the arrow shoots from isn't the middle of your body, but rather the back of your body, which is, I found really confusing. I'm also pretty terrible at it, as you can see. Let's just show you one of these missions for now. Sure, whiteout. You're gonna see, of course, in there it's win the battle, survive 8 seconds without getting hit, and win with the level transition. Those are various conditionals in the Star Labs missions. If you complete them, you will get stars. So the gimmick in this stage is that the graphics go nutty. Here, obviously no voiceover, but there's text there. And there. Bam. And then the screen goes nutty, and then you have to keep Lex Luthor. Well, let's just do this. Yay, first hit. Frost arrow. God, I hate turning. I dropped that again. Yeah. Let's see. Alright, as you can tell, I'm not actually that good at this game. So, let's see here. Win the level with the level transition. Okay. I have to get on the other side of Luthor because the level transition is to my left. Come on, get him a bit lower.
This will enlighten you.
You're not so tough.
Well, have to do the wager then. Yeah, if anyone actually plays Injustice, you know that I'm not actually that good. That was not the input I wanted. That was the input I wanted. Come on. Oh, I'm not going to get the level transition. Oh well. Oh well. As you can tell, some of the challenge bits are harder than others. Since apparently I can't coax him onto the other side of the screen, I can't do a level transition. That doesn't really matter too much. Let's get out of here. Now what I'm going to show you is the story cutscenes. Let's see here. Chapters. Let's do versus Deathstroke. So first of all, we're going to get into a cutscene. I'm going to shut up for a bit. The cutscenes are pre-rendered. I'll let you be the judge of the quality. Also note that I have not touched the audio this entire time. Just for the record.
Money's green, and as a bonus.
Oh wait, what the heck? Okay, never mind. Oh, I thought it would play a cutscene. So here, I'll just beat the crap out of him. As you can tell, I suck. Real Batman players are probably cringing in embarrassment at this moment. That doesn't matter too much. Yeah, I suck. Come on. Yeah. As you can tell, I have no idea how to use Batman either. As you can tell, sometimes the AI is pretty dumb. Come on, hit me. Hit me. Damn it, I want to use the special move. Come on. Any century now. Come on. Come on! Well, mind you, this is medium AI. On hard AI, they're actually remotely difficult. There we go. There we go, now we get to do a special. No, on hard AI, they will actually rush you down and do damage. This is just set to medium AI, and it's the first boss, so yeah. Now, this should transition into a cutscene.
No bonus for you. Batman's watchtower.
This is...
Come in.
Yeah, you can see... You're...
Nightwing.
I don't know. In general, I've noticed that the audio during the cutscenes will suddenly drop a little bit, and I'm not sure why, or at least it's somewhat harder to hear. Also, you can tell... Mind you, this is not me failing to render this properly. No, this is not the encoding. This is actually the quality of the cutscenes. It is sub-sampled and pre-rendered, and probably horribly lossy encoding. So, yeah, I don't know.
What was that? Thunder of the Gods.
I mean, obviously, the other option was to render it with in-game, and in-game just looks awful anyways. So let's just skip past this. Let's get out of here again. Because I want to show you one last thing. The last thing has to do with Cyborg. Because... Let's go into battles here. Cyborg's graphics, I think, look absolutely hideous. I'm just going to quickly give you an overview of battles. So you have Classic, you go through a bunch of enemies. Heroes only, you fight a bunch of heroes only. You fight a bunch of villains only. Poisoned is, you constantly drain health. Survivor, your health meter carries over from match to match, and you can gain health somehow. Mirror match. You have your opponent changes every single time, and your character changes too. Mystery, buff debuff, fully charged, unlimited super meter, but super meter disabled. I'm not going to go through the whole darn list. You can obviously look it up on the internet if you're looking for it. Let's go back to single player. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into training mode for this, just so I can fool around and then give you a bit of a verdict. Yeah, you'll notice I didn't spend that much time. Let's show you.
Cyborg.
Regular Cyborg. I'm emphasizing regular Cyborg here. And let's just use Scorpion. For the record, the new characters in the Ultimate Edition are Martian Manhunter, Zatanna, Batgirl, Lobo, at least I think, Zod, Scorpion. at least I'm 90% sure that they're the new ones. If I'm wrong, then someone is gonna smack me over the head for being an idiot, but that's about it.
Scorpion.
So I'm just gonna put Scorpion in here. No, everyone likes the throne room of Atlantis. Probably because there are very few damaging environment effects. I'll wait for that to load in. And now I'm gonna show you how hideous Cyborg looks. That's Cyborg. Yeah. You'll notice that the texture quality on him is pretty awful. If you've seen any of the cutscenes with Cyborg in it, they do have a much higher, a model with much higher res textures. But you look at that, it's just one big blob. Like, really? Really? Like, this actually looks hideous. I mean, it's not a question of quality or anything. This is, they could have done a lot more with his character model. I'm mostly picking on Cyborg in particular. I believe that Catwoman has a fairly bland texture. Green Arrow doesn't look too bad. I think Batman has a few too many blurred out parts. But if you could just look at this, it's just like the regular Cyborg model does have higher res textures. Like, look, as soon as they go into the Super, you'll see that he suddenly gains much better textures. Like, really, the texture quality during the Super mode is a lot higher, than all of a sudden it plummets back down again while you're fighting. I have no idea why they decided to do this. It's really irritating. Here, let's take a look again. You can see that you can see all the fine details on him. But as soon as the camera zooms back out, you can't see any of them. I don't know why. It just seems really weird that they have it all loaded in. Like, I would have been happier if they compromised, say, the flowing water in the background, or like some of the environment textures. That would have been okay. But the this character texture in particular is just hideous. Really. So I don't know, they could have done a lot better. I think they could have done a better job of that. I think they could have readjusted their priorities so that your characters don't stand out like sore thumbs against the background. And don't get me wrong, the background actually looks pretty good. Like, if you look where the seahorse statue is closest to the screen, you can see fine details on the statue, you can see the etchings behind it. Those are pretty good. And like, if you look at Scorpion actually looks pretty good right now. Let's see, can I change player select? No, where the hell is it? AI options, custom, hit record, playback, accept. Okay. You can see, for example, Scorpion, even though his textures are also really watered out, you can see that his textures don't look too bad when you zoom in on him, right? And like, again, I used the super move in order to zoom in on him. But you can see that just as a character model, he doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of contrast here and there. There's a little bit of... You can see some of the finer details, like the gem on his chest, the straps on his arm. But when you look at Cyborg, for example, when you look at Cyborg, it just, like, even maybe you noticed it for a split second there, but you'll notice that during this super move, it did not load Cyborg's better texture. And I don't know why. Like, it just feels like they could have done so much more with the graphics. It really does. And I just find that disappointing. It's not a make or break thing, but it's just, I think they could have done so much more with it. Anyways, let's get out of here. Yeah, I just spent like 4 minutes saying the exact same thing repeatedly, didn't I? Also, let's get into bonus features. Hero card. Hero card is just, hold it for a second. Obviously, you have this here. You get to customize what images you have where. So, for example, I like Green Arrow, so I put Green Arrow on the left. You can also change the circular icon and the background to it as well in customization. Obviously, yeah, I play a lot of Green Arrow. Customize. Take a look at the hero card customization options. You can change the background. The background is the background trapezoid up at the top of the screen. Icon is the circle. Portrait is the part on the left. Oopsie. Wrong button. Alright, so for example, portrait, you can see it goes through all these. You play, and for example, complete a battle with Aquaman, Green Arrow, chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. You unlock various portraits based on completing various things like Flash Star Lab, Green Arrow Star Lab, Catwoman, 3 stars in all, etc. So various customization options, obviously all of those are available. All the unlock conditionals are just there for all of the things. Archives, wait for this to load in. Archives are unlockables, basically. Like for example, I have a Q access card, so let's pick A2 for a second. So Countdown. Countdown is a type of battle. It's a battle mode, basically. You know, the classic heroes, villains section of the game. This is just you can unlock another battle mode. There are also things like concept art. I'm gonna pick A1 here. Can unlock it, and here you go, Aquaman Concept Art. Waiting for it to load in, obviously, and you get all this various concept art. You can also unlock pieces of music. So here you go. This is the music for the Arkham Asylum Cellblock. Backgrounds. Backgrounds, I believe, are all unlocked by default. So whatever. Costumes. Now this one I find kind of weird, because it says here you want to unlock these things. But I've unlocked Green Arrow Insurgency, and the thing is that when I first got the game, and then I picked Insurgency, it loaded the Insurgency. So, I don't know. I'm slightly confused by this armory, because for some reason they're all already unlocked, and then you have to unlock them to do Jack's Diddly Squad. I'm not sure what's going on here. Just your Deathstroke Insurgency. Why the hell not? Well, let's get out of here. Alright, now multiplayer I cannot connect to because I do not have an internet connection where I'm recording from. What I will say is this. Like I said earlier, population seems decent right now. The game just came out, so obviously it's going to be fairly decent. It still takes a little while. I'm gonna have to reconfirm this, but I do not believe that this has crossplay. I could be horribly, horribly wrong. In fact, I really think I'm wrong now that I think about it. But it doesn't seem like it has crossplay. Because if it had crossplay, you'd think that you'd be able to get into more battles with people. For example, the people with the most wins, like number 1 on the ladder, has 100 wins, for example. That seems vaguely reasonable for a game that's only been out a few days. But if it's been out for several months, like Injustice has been, 100 battles is absolutely nothing. So I feel that this is not a crossplay game. At least it just doesn't seem like it's a crossplay game. Secondly, netcode. Now the netcode, obviously you're not going to have perfect ping with absolutely everybody. That's a given. For the most part though, what irritates me about the netcode is that when you are lagging, the game gives you no feedback that you're lagging until you notice that your controls are slow. Like, there is no ping bar, there is no caution this player is being slow, nothing like that. You load into the game as normal, and then you have to spend like 5 seconds figuring out how much latency you have. Because obviously it varies depending on an opponent. If a person's next to you, there is little to no latency. If a person is on the other side of the planet, there is a ton of latency. But the game gives you no feedback for that. Like, for example, I play BlazBlue quite a bit. I also suck at BlazBlue, but that's beyond the point. When it lags, you will see the frame rate drop considerably, and that is a slowdown. But it's a visual slowdown. I can tell that it is lagging. Also, even when I do a match-made game, I get a little ping bar that says, oh, the ping of this opponent is blah. So you can expect to be this laggy or not laggy at all. Which is helpful. You don't get that at all here. Secondly, it's the battle victory screen. The battle victory screen, especially in multiplayer, infuriates me. And mind you, it's not because I lost 8 times in a row. It's because, okay, fine, you get the little cuts because you lose, or win, you get the cutscene of your character doing some action. Then it goes into the last screen, you get the stats load up, okay. And then you have to spend more time just sitting there staring at your stats. And there is no way to fast forward through it. Like, that is a small thing. But it really pisses me off, because I'm sitting there going, okay, good, I have my stats. I want to keep playing now. And I have to spend like an extra 10 seconds, at least. It honestly feels like a 20-second period, where I'm just sitting there going, can I please get on to the next match now? Can I please leave? And I can't get it. Anyways, so TLDR, what is my verdict? I'd have to say that, for the most part, it's... I mean, it is a $40 game, obviously. In terms of mechanics, I will say that it is faithful to the original Injustice. And it does manage to do 60 frames per second. I have heard people say that they're getting frame drops when the environment collapses. I haven't noticed that personally. I really haven't. I have noticed that when the environment collapses and you're doing a flashy special move, then yes, the frame rate will drop a little bit, but that's during a time when nobody can do anything, so I don't think it's of consequence. Other than that, yes, they did get the mechanics right, I feel. I don't particularly like the way they do input buffering, but again, that's just my preference. It's completely biased. They did get the mechanics right, etc. So for the most part, I'm going to say, if you want to play Injustice on the Vita, go for it. What I've noticed so far is I do not think this has crossplay, but other than that, if you're a fan of the DC Universe, if you're a fan of fighting games, or if you're a fan of Injustice, then go ahead and pick it up. If you're someone outside of it, the single-player content is fairly substantial. I mean, at least when you compare it against Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, because that game had almost no single-player whatsoever. That was just arcade mode, challenge mode, multiplayer. That was about it. This actually has some single-player value. It also has casual single-player value in terms of the little gimmicky mini-games that you can do during the Star Labs missions and the story mode. I will say that the gimmicks during the story mode, I didn't particularly like them. I think the Star Labs gimmicks are much better, much more interesting, and help you learn the mechanics of your character. Otherwise, TLDR to the TLDR. DC fans and people who really like Injustice, go ahead and get it. Newcomers to fighting games, this is worth considering, especially if you have some attachment to DC characters. If you're a fan of a different fighting game, however, and you're thinking of getting this, I think it's a bit of a tough sell. I really do. So, yeah, that's about it. Fighting game fans, consider it. Newcomers, consider it. People who want it, go get it. Also, just quickly, a quick note about supply. I have actually heard that... Oh, man, my Vita just turned off. I've actually heard that it is a soft release in terms of hard copy, which means that you may or may not find hard copies at your local store. So in that regard, I would have to recommend that you get it off the PSN. Unfortunately, I don't believe it's actually discounted to $35 or anything. I'll have to double check that again. But you should probably get it digitally, not physically. My name has been V.